lot of people talk about processed food online, they do it in a really fear-mongery, scary, kind of shamey way, and that's not my style, so that's not what's going to happen in today's video. This video is not meant to shame you, it's not meant to scare you, and I'm not gonna tell you to never eat processed food again. But I am gonna share 4 strategies to help you eat less of it so you can feel a little bit better in your day-to-day life. So if that's something that you're interested in, keep watching. Processed food is everywhere around us in America, even if you're in Canada, Australia, or the UK. When we were growing up, we were selling candy for fundraisers. We literally had vending machines with soda, chips, sweets in our schools. And we grew up on things like Dunkaroos, Lunchables, pizza rolls, and Kool-Aid. And these things were associated with feelings of like fun and joy and pop culture, and we have such a strong emotional connection to these foods because of how they were marketed to us growing up and how ingrained in our lives these companies were. And even as adults, when we go to the grocery store, we always see processed food as the last thing before we hit the checkout. And if you work in an office, they probably have a kitchen stocked with things like soda and chips. And the truth is, we live in an environment where it's so much easier to eat processed food than healthy food. It's really comforting to us, and we can fall into cycles where we eat more of it than we really want to. And I don't know if you've heard, but these processed foods are not really good for us if we eat a lot of them. They contain high amounts of sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats that can lead to lifestyle diseases like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, etc. Even if you're like 20 years old and this stuff hasn't really caught up with you yet, you still might experience things like fatigue or brain fog that just make your life less enjoyable. And here's the thing, I think processed food has a time and a place. Like if you go to a Christmas party and they have like chips and dip, then that's fine. You should partake and enjoy the holiday if you want. But I think we all fall into patterns where we start to eat more like candy, chips, and soda than we really actually want to. So the purpose of this video is to help you when you're in those situations, and not to say that you shouldn't eat cake when you're at your sister's birthday party. If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Danielle and I'm a nutrition coach. And even though I'm vegan and I work with a lot of vegans, we have the same, for the most part, nutritional issues as omnivores. One of which is that we eat way too much processed food because a lot of processed food is accidentally vegan. Before we go any further, I want to define what a processed food is for the purposes of this video. So the technical definition of a processed food is any food that has been altered from its original state. So you could say that technically cooked beans are a processed food. But when people say processed foods, they're usually referring to foods that have a lot of sugar, salt, and oil added to make them highly palatable, aka addictive. Those things like chips, Cheez-Its, donuts, tasty cakes, even breakfast cereals, a lot of them are marketed as healthy, but they're not really. So with that definition in mind, let's kind of get to the strategies that are gonna help you eat less of it. Okay, this first one might be controversial because I don't like associating negative feelings with food in any way, but I think it's really effective. So, recognize that someone's trying to make a buck off of you. These foods have been engineered to make you crave more so that companies can sell you more. It's profit motivated, which is what happens when capitalism intersects with our food system. They want you to eat the whole bag of chips, and they use things like emulsifiers and flavor enhancers to make these things more addictive. They even add artificial colors to make these foods more visually appealing to us, like neon Cheetos. These highly palatable foods have combinations of salt, sugar, and oil that aren't found in nature, and our brains love that. So it's really not your fault that you keep wanting to eat these processed foods. But if you're anything like me, you hate when people try to take advantage of you. So by recognizing that these companies actually don't care about you and they just want to make a buck off of you and profit off of you, you can start to make better decisions for yourself. And honestly, I think anger is sometimes a good motivator. Number 2 is a little bit more tactical, and that is adjust your environment accordingly. So this is specifically for your home and like your workplace if you physically go to work. Keep these foods out of sight and out of mind. If you have a bag of candy, a bag of chips, sodas out in the open, your brain is going to be constantly reminded that that food is there and that it exists. And it's going to wear down your willpower. I tell my clients that willpower is like a muscle. So the more you have to use it, the more fatigued it's going to get. So creating an environment where you don't have to constantly fight the temptation of these foods is gonna make your life a lot easier. If you live alone, the most obvious thing to do is just like don't buy these foods in the first place, because if it's not in your house, you can't eat it. But a lot of us live with partners and families and even roommates. So for example, I live with my boyfriend and he loves chips, he loves cookies, any like novelty snack food that Trader Joe's comes out with, he must have it. So what I did was buy him a snack basket from IKEA and we just keep it in a cupboard. So I don't have to look at it and be reminded that these really delicious, usually vegan things are here for the taking. The point is that you don't have to be reminded of these things' existence every time you walk into your kitchen. If you have an office job where there's like a kitchen, there's always snacks and stuff around, there's a couple things that you can do. Number 1 is ask your kitchen manager if they can get some healthier snacks, like apples, oranges, bananas, like just cheap things. Or you can bring your own snacks, like those kind of fruits. You can do baby carrots, snap peas. You can walk to the corner store and see if you can grab a bag. When I worked in an office, we were down the street from Trader Joe's, so I just go to Trader Joe's and get snacks. If you are looking for a snack that's more crunchy and that's not like a vegetable or fruit, rice cakes are a great option. A lot of brands suck, but Lundberg rice cakes are really good and you can find them at Trader Joe's. If you have a specific question about an environment that you are subjected to and you're trying to navigate it, leave it in the comments and I'll answer. Okay, number 3 is make a focused effort to change your palate. So your palate is your taste buds, your taste preferences. And as we said, these processed foods are engineered to be hyper palatable and addictive. But there are a few things that you can do to kind of retrain your palate, so when you see a Twinkie or a Tasty Cake, you're drawn to it a little less. So one thing that you can do is cut down on the sugar and the salt that you add to the food that you make for yourself. So maybe half the sugar that you normally put in your coffee, or even no sugar. Or you can just add pepper instead of salt and pepper to your food. You can even experiment with different seasonings to replace the sugar and the salt that you normally use. So cinnamon is a really great option, especially in your oatmeal. Another option is cooking without oil. I don't usually cook my food with oil. I will cook my food in a combination of water, low sodium soy sauce or tamari, and liquid smoke, and then whatever kind of seasonings that I'm feeling. I usually use garlic, onion, that sort of thing. I started doing this many years ago. I actually ended up liking my food better, and then if I like go to a restaurant or my food is cooked by someone else and it has a lot of oil in it, I get kind of grossed out. The less you consume added sugar, added salt, added oil, the less used to it you'll be and the less your body will crave it. Which brings me to number 4, and that is slowly replace the processed food in your day. So let's say you're having processed food multiple times a day, every day. You got your chips, you got your sweets, even like breakfast sandwiches, etc. You're probably not gonna go whole food plant-based vegan overnight. At least most people can't. So that's why it's so much easier to start replacing these things piece by piece. So I had a client a few months ago who was getting really hangry by the afternoon and would eat a bag of pita chips, and then at night she was using a lot of Beyond Meat to cook. So there's a couple things that we did. The first one was to replace the pita chip snack with carrots and hummus, and we moved it a little bit earlier in the day so that she wasn't getting to the point where she was hangry and the pita chips were the most convenient thing for her to eat. So we were being very proactive about it. And then we replaced the processed meat substitutes at dinner with less processed proteins like TVP, tofu, and tempeh. All the T proteins. And because we took this step by step, it was really easy for her to make these changes. It was just a month and she ended up having more energy, having better workouts, and she was super happy. She's one of my favorite clients. So here's some advice for you. Pick one snack time out of the day and replace it with something like an apple and peanut butter, which, by the way, has that carb fat kind of interplay. It's just in a healthier package. If it's a meal and you're having French fries with the meal, try a baked potato or try a roasted potato, something that's gonna be one step less processed. You could even microwave some frozen brown rice and have that with like beans and salsa, and that's like a really quick like meal or snack depending on how much you eat. Also, hot sauce fixes like everything. So the point really is to start small, like dumb easy, something stupid easy that you can replace, and then get that quick win and keep building on that. And that's how you're gonna make lasting change. And if you do want my help, you can book a free call with me below. So wrapping this up, here are your 4 strategies to eat less processed food. The first one is recognize that these companies are just trying to profit off of you. You are their pawn, basically. Adjust your environment to make healthy choices easier and the less healthy choices a little bit harder. Make a focused effort to change your palate by reducing the salt, oil, and sugar you're already taking in. And slowly replace the processed items in your diet with more wholesome ones. Once you start to limit your processed food intake, your life is gonna change. You will be so much less lethargic. You'll be able to think clearer. If you like working out or even just doing light yoga, you're physically gonna feel so much better. It is so worth it to limit your processed food intake. I know my life was totally changed when I started limiting this stuff, and you will be able to feel the difference. So that's it for today's video. If you have any questions, definitely leave them below. I'd be happy to help. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you got something out of this video. I hope you did. And I'll see you next time. Bye.